about my labour and birth story. I love listening to other people's ones of these and reading them on blog posts and things like that, so I thought that it was time to revisit my labour and birth story. It's one of these things that no one can ever prepare you for, and it will never ever, well, say 9 times out of 10, ever go the way you plan it. So my kind of thing was to try and not plan it as much as possible. All I wanted was a water birth. I just wanted to be in the pool. I didn't mind drugs. I'd take all the drugs if I needed them. I'd take none if I didn't need them. When I first started going to all my midwife and consultant appointments in London, I was meant to be on the labour ward because my placenta was really low down and at one point was completely covering my cervix. And I was also admitted at around 28 weeks pregnant, I think it was. I was admitted into hospital for a week because I was having contractions and a bleed, and they thought Isla might have actually been coming super early, so I had to stay and get steroid injections and just generally monitored and more scans. So it was good in a way that we had that, because it showed that the placenta had moved up a little bit, which was good news, because if the placenta is still completely covering your cervix, you're not allowed to give birth naturally, you have to have a cesarean. So we didn't need to go down that front, but they still wanted me to be on the labour ward and being overseen by a consultant, just because of lots of other health issues and things as well in the past, not anymore. But in the end, because we moved to the south coast, literally, what was it? It was meant to be about 3 weeks, a month before Isla was born, but because she came a week early, it was slightly less time than that. I literally only had 1 midwife appointment down here before I gave birth. But here they were quite happy for me to be on the birthing kind of centre within, because at QA Hospital in Portsmouth, the birthing centre is like here and the labour ward is here, so they're right next to each other, so if you have any issues you can like scoot on along to the labour ward. So I was quite happy with that. I was just like, if it's got a pool, I'm fine, like I just want the pool. So basically my labour story started on a Wednesday night, really late at night. We would be watching Law and Order UK, great programme, and then we were watching some random film with Brad Pitt in it, one of those zombies or something, and I had one of those birthing balls and I was just like bouncing away, loving life. I think I bent down to speak to the cat or something, and I just felt this like kind of gush, and I was like, not like a proper gush actually, more just like a trickle, I guess. Those are horrible words. And I thought I'd peed myself, because I was obviously quite pregnant at that point, and I had not peed myself before that, so I don't even know why I would have thought that, but I kind of thought, oh, uh-oh. So I was to the toilet and I was laughing, thinking that I might pee myself or whatever, and then it was Robert, when he came up, he was like, that's far too much liquid, that is not you peeing yourself, that's your waters. But I was in complete denial. I was like, nah, it can't be my waters, surely not, it's a week early, blah 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 blah. I haven't fake tanned was one of the things that popped straight into my head. So Robert was like, I definitely think that's your waters, let's give them a call. So we gave them a call and they were like, come in, because it's your first baby, we can check the waters are the right colour and this, that and the other. So because I was in no pain, it was literally, it just kept coming in kind of gushes. More when I like stepped or like bent down or whatever, it would gush more. So I wasn't like that fussed about rushing in, so I got in the shower, I fake tanned, I shaved my legs, and Robert was like, oh for goodness sake, come on. So we eventually ended up getting into hospital. It only took about 15 minutes. It was meant to be half an hour from here, but because it was like 1 in the morning, maybe a bit earlier, by midnight, it didn't take any time at all. So we got there, the midwife saw us, checked us over. It was hilarious because we were like sitting there waiting and the radio came on and like all sorts of like romantic songs were coming on, and we were like, this is really awkward. So she checked us over, it was all fine, blood pressure was fine, all that sort of stuff. So then we went home. And again, I was so naive at this point. I was like, this birthing's alright, I can do this is fine. So got into bed, and then bang, like half an hour later, the contractions started. And even from the get-go, I've not felt pain like it. I tried hypnobirthing because I've been listening to this hypnobirthing thing for ages. Tried that, practically launched it out the window within like 20 minutes because it was pissing me off so much. I was in bed in the pitch darkness, Robert was sound asleep, and I was in so much pain. They were coming like every, I don't know how many minutes, but far too quick for the beginning. Only lasted another kind of half hour in bed, then got out of bed, got Robert up. I think it's probably about 4 in the morning-ish, And then so Robert ran a bath, got in the bath, had some paracetamol, as if that was ever gonna help. And like they just kept ramping up and up and up, and oh god, like I was trying to, in the bath with my bump, every time I got a contraction I was trying to turn and get the bump into the water, because it's not a particularly big bath, to try and get some sort of relief, and it just wasn't, there just was no relief. And sitting down was agony, and lying down was agony, and I just had to walk around the house for, I think I literally went into hospital about 10 o'clock. So for like the next 6 hours I just spent the whole time on my feet against walls like this, like crying and being like, no, what have I done? And I couldn't even sit on my birthing ball. I was either on all fours or walking around. I was being sick. I was sick I think 3 times at home because of the, just as really bad contractions came, I'd just be like bleh, which I didn't know could happen. And I had one of those TENS machine things on, but again, like it was a really weird sensation. It's kind of just like someone's going like in your back, and it kind of distracts you and helps a little bit. But I didn't realise till the end of my labour that I'd actually only had the thing on half the setting for the whole time, so I didn't even get the full power. What a ninny. So that was that. We were at home, agony, 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 and it got to the point where I was like, I don't feel right. I feel I'd just rather get into hospital. Like I wasn't one of these people that wanted to be at home to give birth or be at home as long as possible, but I also didn't want to be one of these people that rushed in for no reason. So I was trying to get like the happy balance. So yeah, I like got into hospital about, well, I think we got about 10:30, but the traffic was ridiculous. Like it's so bad. Where we live, it's like one tiny road out to like the main motorway, and there's so many people that live here, it just gets backed up. It's the bane of my life with work as well. But we were in this traffic, and I was like trying to go like this and like keep my bum off the seat because I was in so much pain. And there was like a One Direction song on, and like another like proper like cheesy song that came on like more than once, and I was so angry. But whenever I hear that song now I'm like ooh. So we're in the car, got there about 10, got in, had a male midwife, a male student midwife who was so good. Like if anyone had told me before I gave birth that it would be a male student midwife who was like shorter than me, like kind of big build, like just kind of tattoos and a beard, I would have never been like, yeah, that person's gonna deliver my child. But he did, and he was the best midwife I think I could have ever wished for. There was another woman there helping as well who was really lovely too, but he was just, oh, his voice was just like, screw the hypnobirthing, his voice was amazing. Like whatever he said to me I was just like, oh, you're so relaxing. So he like gave it, and he was really funny as well. Like he was cracking jokes and just like he was really good. Like I probably credit how well, as well as my birth could go, to him, because he was just fantastic. So he got us in, got us set up in a room, and I thought we'd be in a room and then have to move, but we weren't. We were just in this room, and disaster, someone had gotten in the birthing pool 5 minutes before we got there. It literally broke my heart. I was like, but what will I do? I can't give birth without the water. I don't know why I had it so fixated in my head I needed to be in the water, but yeah, I couldn't get in the pool. So I kind of felt a little bit, because I was like, I don't want to be on a bed, I don't want to. And like in my hospital in London, they had like things where you could like hold on to. They had like an active birth kind of room, but this hospital didn't seem to have that. So I was like, I don't want to just be on a bed, I don't want to be lying down, I want to like be moving and get things going properly. So I kind of just walked around the room for the next, how many hours? 10, 11, 12, 6 hours. So yeah, 6 hours of like wandering around, being sick, trying to eat, couldn't eat, hadn't eaten anything since lunchtime the day before, because I had started feeling nauseous in the run up to the days before giving birth, which I have heard can be a sign, so that definitely happened to me. But I just carried on being nauseous all throughout the birth as well. Couldn't really eat or drink anything, so I was getting weaker and weaker. And I can't remember when it was. I think when we got in I was 5 centimeters dilated, and then however many hours later, must have been about 4 hours later, I was like, I need to push, like I feel horrendous. Like this pressure was just awful. Like I felt like my bum was gonna fall out of my bum, if you know what I mean. It was terrible. Oh, it was awful. And I had this, oh, it's just an instinct. You just have it. Like, I think everyone who gives birth, it's your own body, and even though you don't know what you're doing the first time around, and the second time around can be completely different as well apparently, so you probably don't know what you're doing the second time around, but you just have this kind of instinct. So I was like, I need to push, and they were like, you do not need to push. And I was like, oh. And I think it was maybe 20 minutes later that I was then allowed to push, and I was so annoyed. I thought pushing, movies, books, one born every minute, they all completely misinform you to around the whole pushing process. I don't think you get enough information on it. I was pushing for 2 hours in the end. I thought you were only allowed to push for half an hour, and that was that. 2 hours, and I didn't realise as your baby's coming out, so this is you, they like have to come down and round about like the U-bendy thing. But instead of just coming down and round and out, they kind of go out, back, out, back, out, back, out, back, and they keep going back, and I was just, oh, it devastated me. I just couldn't get my head around it in like my tired, emotional, in pain state. I was so angry. I was just like, why does no one tell you this? People wouldn't have babies if they knew this. And I got like crazy angry about it. But to be honest, the only time I ever snapped throughout my whole labour and birth was when Robert was trying to give me some orange juice, and he spilled it on my face and it was all sticky, and I snapped and I like swore at him. But the midwives were like, whoa, because they hadn't heard me like swear or anything. But yeah, so pushing took forever, and it wasn't progressing. Like I was in all sorts of positions. I was on the disabled toilet holding onto the bars, I was on all fours, I was up on a chair, I was up backwards on the bed, I was just everything I could possibly do. But the midwives kept trying to get me to lie down, and I just wasn't comfortable with it. I didn't want to do it, but they were like, you are pushing better there. And then the more exhausted I got, I was like, I need to lie down anyway. But it was just so much pain in the bottom of my back, so I was like, I don't want to put pressure on it. So that was that. I like lay down, and they were like, you know, when they hold your legs like that and whatever, which I was like, this is awful, I never wanted this to happen. And I kept saying like, hold your legs and pull them back, and I clearly wasn't doing it right because I kept getting shouted at. But I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and it just wasn't getting anywhere. So they were basically like, in 10 minutes we're gonna have to get the doctors in, and I fell to pieces because I was like, that's just the one thing I wanted to avoid. I would have taken all the drugs, I would have done anything they said, didn't care, but I just didn't want an assisted delivery. I didn't want forceps, I didn't want, which nobody wants, of course nobody wants it, but I just had it in my head, and I fell to bits. It's probably the only time I properly cried, and I was like, no, I don't want to. So in the end, the room just filled with like loads of doctors and midwives, but they were just all kind of shouting at me, or not shouting, they were all encouraging me rather than actually physically doing anything to get her out. And I think about 5 minutes later her head came out, and my midwife, Steve, had said it's like a stinging sensation. It's not like a stinging sensation, it's like a set it to fire and fire nails at it and set a bomb off and whatever else. It's not a stinging sensation. That does not give it enough credit. It is like something you will never ever feel again in another situation. So then once our head was out, you have to sit and wait for the, and don't push because you can like obviously do damage. So I was like sitting waiting, and I'm not joking, it felt like an hour before the next contraction came along after them being so quick. This one was like so long. So then yeah, eventually she came out and we were like, yay, or I was like, oh my god, and I was in complete shock. And I'd made the room really cold because I get really bad headaches in the heat and whatever. So the room was freezing. So poor Isla, when she came out, must have been like, ugh. So they had to like, they wrapped her in a towel and gave her to me, but it was still skin to skin, but towel over her sort of thing. But I didn't have her for very long. I think I had a little tear, so I had to be stitched up. And obviously they have to deliver your placenta, which is really weird. So I got the injection, and then after a while, like, the placenta comes out, and it genuinely feels like something's like a big massive balloon has burst inside you and like slithers out like a jellyfish. It's disgusting. I wish I'd looked, and next time we have a baby I am going to film stuff, and I am going to take photos, not of like full-on business end, kind of from a nice side angle, and I do want to see like the placenta and Isla's head and whatever, but not Isla's head because I'm not looking up her Isla. Whatever baby's head, because with Isla I was just so overwhelmed. I couldn't deal with any of it. I didn't want to touch the head. I didn't want to do anything or see anything. I just wanted her out. So she got handed to me, but not for very long. Then she went to Robert, and then kind of the room went really quiet. And whilst I was being stood, and I was high as a kite because I hadn't had any gas in air really throughout the whole labour, because it was making me feel really sick and I was getting pins and needles in my face. I didn't like it, so I didn't really use it. But then I got handed it back for getting stitched up, and I was like, it was so much fun. I was high as a kite. Like I could hear myself talking, but I couldn't control anything that was coming out of my mouth. And it was just like, I was just speaking rubbish. You know, if you're quite drunk on a night out and you can hear yourself and you're like, shut up, shut up, shut up. That's what I was like. I was telling Steve some crazy story about something. And Robert was like, oh dear. So that was fun. It was like a nice ending. Then Rob had her, but he kind of noticed a little lump on her neck. And she got rushed off, or not rushed off, people rushed in and we're all looking at her. She got taken like kind of off us, like I wasn't allowed to have her back and Robert wasn't allowed to have her, because it turned out she had a cystic hygroma, which I'll do a separate video on. I've blogged about it before, but it was this huge swelling on her neck that was like, it was huge. It was like half the size of her head, but like here. And that kind of contributed to why I was pushing so long and why her head was turning while I was pushing, which the midwives had said, oh, her head's turning a lot, which makes it a lot more difficult for you. And we didn't know why, because basically it never got picked up on scans. And if it had been picked up on scans, I probably wouldn't have been allowed to give birth naturally, because of the fact that it's this big swelling, and obviously if they're coming out like a really narrow passage, it can be really dangerous. So yeah, she got taken away kind of from us to get looked at, and then came back, and we were just kind of sitting there in shock. And it was still like a really happy time, but it was just a happy time tainted with complete worry, to be honest. But we got her back eventually, and I stayed in overnight and she got checked out, and we did get discharged the next day in the end. So all in all, yeah, fun experience, but I don't think anything can ever prepare you. I think that's the thing I'll end on. So yeah, that was my labour and birth story. Sorry it was so long. I didn't mean to bang on for this amount of time, but hope you enjoyed it. If you've done a labour and birth story, or you've blogged about it or anything like that, and I haven't read it before because I've read lots, then pop a comment in the link below. I'd love to see them. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!